ISNA Day in Tampa. Let's give ISNA a big round of applause for being here. Choosing Tampa. And as they've done now, it's becoming a tradition, as they've done last year, when ISNA comes to town, they like to recognize local people, local heroes in the community that have contributed to our community and to its growth in establishing it. Last year we recognized Dr. Sultan from the Islamic Society of Tampa Bay area, and this year we have another special awardee that's been working in the community for decades.
In 1975, Dr. Hussein Saba moved his young family to Tampa at a time when the Muslim population in Tampa was very small. Needing a place where their children could learn and practice Islam together, Dr. Saba and other Tampa families were able to purchase a separate property to found the Islamic Society of Tampa Bay area. They served as the board of directors, as the teachers, and as the cleaning crew. Their efforts were quickly rewarded, and Saba grew faster than they could have ever imagined. Dr. Saba was instrumental in the construction of the new masjid, while also playing a key role in founding Saba's Red Crescent Community Clinic, providing free medical care to thousands of Muslims and non-Muslims. Dr. Saba kept busy establishing his medical career and is loved by his patients for his gentleness and patience. As a physician, he served as the Chief of Medical Oncology and Hematology at the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, and Director of the Hemophilia and Thrombosis Center at the University of South Florida. He became a tenured full professor at USF and continues to teach classes at the USF School of Medicine. Among many other accomplishments, Dr. Saba has authored 21 book chapters, 84 peer-reviewed articles, and 152 abstracts. During his career, Dr. Saba was a founder of the Indo-Pak Cultural Society and a founding member of the Association of American Physicians from South Asia. These organizations built bridges with the non-Muslim community, giving Muslims their voice and place in a diverse society. Although Dr. Saba has had many accomplishments, he would never take credit for them, saying that they are due to the hard work of many people with whom Allah has blessed him to be associated with. Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Hussein Saba.
Let's give Dr. Saba, who's up here in the front seat, a big round of applause. Yes, he deserves a standing ovation. Of course, we can't thank him enough. You may be seated. You can't thank him enough for all the work that he's done. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to thank those that have contributed to our success. And definitely, if we look at the community here, the thriving community in Tampa Bay, Dr. Saba, one of the original people to come to the area from the immigrant community, and has helped establish so many institutions, and not only in his medical field, but I remember when I was the director at the Council on American Islamic Relations CARE, he was one of those people that believed in the project before it existed and helped fund it, and so many other projects that he continues to fund. So we all agree a lot of gratitude to him and his family. And speaking on his behalf is going to be Rashid Saba, Dr. Rashid Saba, I think also born in Hillsborough County, and now continuing the legacy. And of course, Saba family is all here as well, so raise your hands. Let's give them a round of applause. This is just 5% of their total. They wanted to bring everybody, but we said we don't have the capacity, so these are just the representatives of the Saba. I remember Saba Jr., I asked him something, he said, yeah, we're the Sabas. It's like, you know. But before that, I want to have Sister Majda say something more, you know, maybe personal to Dr. Saba and his family.
Assalamu alaikum. In the session before dinner, when Sheikh Mukhtar was talking about spirituality, and he mentioned something about reaching that level of spirituality where you know that you've made a connection somehow with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I got very emotional because I made a connection like that, but not for the 3 minutes. I think I got like 30 seconds. And it was when my father first moved to Tampa before he passed. And then Dr. Saba came in, and I became very emotional because through my father, I learned of Dr. Saba. In the 70s, they were pioneers in Islamic medicine. We did not live in the same community, but we went to IMA conventions. It was Dr. Saba, Dr. Nagamia, and my father. And so we didn't know him personally, but through my father, we got to know him. When I moved to Tampa, I realized that he wasn't only a supporter of Islamic medicine, he was also a supporter of the Islamic community. And at the time, really, Saba was the only place to go for Salat al-Eid, and we knew that he had a lot to do with building the masjid. And as his grandchildren grew and became my students, we began to see him as a supporter of Islamic education. So through him, through his wife, through his children, his grandchildren, his wife's nephews, who became very close friends of my sons, we got to know the person who was Dr. Saba and became grateful for all the contributions he made to the community. So, Jazakumullah khair for all you've done. You sincerely deserve this award, and we honor you and all of your family because they've carried on, I think, with the mission that you began. Assalamu alaikum.
And presenting the award to Dr. Saba is the Vice President of ISNA, Azhar Aziz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This award is presented to Dr. Hussein Saba, to you in recognition of your positive impact and heartfelt contributions towards supporting the cause of Islam throughout Florida and beyond, both in your professional practice and community service. ISNA Community Day, June 29, 2030. Takbir.
And speaking on his behalf will be Dr. Rashid Saba, if you can come to the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. Our apologies, my father's got a bit of a sore throat and he asked me just to say a few words on his behalf. First and foremost, he and our family are honored and humbly accept this award from you and the ISNA community. It's an extreme honor, one of the most important things my father said he's ever received. But as the video said, and he wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he cannot accept this award on his behalf alone. Anything great that he's done is through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the support of many, many people. First and foremost, his wife, my mother. He wanted to make sure that I thanked her for all her support. And then the families that were mentioned in the video it's very important. Nothing that has been achieved in this community was the effort of one single person. So this award we accept on the behalf of those families, namely the Turnaker family, the Gundak Ali family, the Nagamia family, the Nagamia family, the Nagamia family, there were 3 of them, the Khan family, and the Nawab family. These were all an amazing group of people, and the things that we enjoy today, such as having iftar as Ramadan is coming, after every day of the fast, the Taraweeh that we enjoy, the Tahajjud Salat that we enjoy, these all started from very humble beginnings, much like ISNA did. I remember the days when my parents and my uncles and aunties of those families taught the weekend school. We only had Sundays. We were amazed when we were able to gather for Jummah Salah, and it's just grown incredibly. It's from their hard work, from the people who have come afterwards, and from the hard work that they've inspired the community to do. So we thank all of you. None of this would be possible without the hard work of our ancestors, and now it's our job to continue it. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations, Dr. Saba and the entire Saba family. And more importantly, we know that the success of Dr. Saba is really due to his wife, the other Dr. Saba. And secretly, you know, his name is on the award, but it's really for both of them. And he'll tell you that himself. Is that true? Yeah. Whenever I have to ask for donations from him, he says, talk to my wife. And that's how I knew right away, you know, where to go to fundraise. And always have to be, you know, go to the checkbook. So with that said, but again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you for that. And many more. It was a close contest. There's so many people to recognize, so many people that built this community and continue to grow, and it's, subhanAllah, it's magnificent what they've been able to accomplish, but it shows you that, you know, what's really special about people that contribute and start something that doesn't exist is that they're putting their money into something they don't see, they don't believe. It's easy right now to give money to the masjid, right? It's easier because you see it exists, you see a big structure, you see a clinic, you see people working. But imagine you're donating to something that doesn't even exist. You're donating to an idea, to a vision. And that's where the true belief, with the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward you for it. Imagine the people who started Harvard never went to Harvard. The people that started Harvard never went to Harvard. To them, it was just an idea. We want to build an institution. The people that started ISNA did not grow up in ISNA. They just had a vision, and the vision is there now, and that goes for any mosque or institution across this country. So the reward for those before the migration, before the hijrah, is different than the reward for those after the hijrah. After the hijrah and then after Mecca, it becomes easier. But before the originals, that was difficult. So again, let's compete in the good deeds. And with us tonight, we have a special guest, a reverend. And you might be asking yourself, why is ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, inviting a reverend, a pastor, a Christian to come preach to us tonight? Well, this man is not any average Christian. He embodies what Christianity stands for. And every time we've gone up to Tallahassee to fight against the anti-Muslim, anti-Sharia bill, which now we've defeated 3 years in a row, this next speaker has been there with us every time. So please give a big welcome to the Reverend and our friend, Reverend Charles McKenzie. Thank you.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Allah Akbar.
Speak really close to it. Oh, yes. You're learning. That's good. Allahu Akbar.
I even know Alhamdulillah.
Are you still Christian? I just asked him, are you still Christian?
Still Christian.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. And let's give another round of applause to Dr. Saba. When I was a student at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Dr. Benjamin Mays, the President Emeritus, said to us in one of the last chapel services he attended that there are hundreds and thousands of men and women who struggle daily to achieve greatness, while now and then there comes along one who forgets himself into immortality. And Dr. Saba embodies the spirit of those individuals who are so busy serving others that greatness comes from the service and not from seeking to be recognized. So he is well deserving of this award tonight. And were the world more filled with individuals like him, what a wonderful place it would be. Give him another round of applause. I want to congratulate the Islamic Society of North America for half a century of serving the Muslim and the broader community. And I understand that ISNA is the parent of many other organizations that have come as a result of individuals being inspired by ISNA and then going out and organizing other things to help enrich the lives of Muslims and the larger community. I want to thank my good friend Ahmed Badir of United Voices, our inimitable master of ceremonies. Nobody has a sense of humor and a sense of outreach in the community like Ahmed. Let's give him a round of applause. To our honored guests and our honoree and others, the prophet of social justice, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said this, that we're all tied together in a single garment of destiny, bound by an inescapable network of mutuality. And what affects one directly affects all indirectly. Strangely enough, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. And in his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, he said this, that I believe that what self-centered men have torn down, men who are other-centered can build up. The United States of America is a nation founded on the principle that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Reverend Jesse Jackson has described America as a big tent with 5 fundamental driving principles: equal protection under the law, equal access, equal opportunity, fair share, and a concern for the least of these, the big tent republic, where no one is left in the margins. The nation of tolerance, where ethnic variation and religious diversity is safeguarded in the Constitution. The land where the huddled masses of the world who yearn to breathe free can come and find a place where every person will have the irrevocable right to work, to learn, to develop, and to earn to his full potential. Our theme this evening, the American Muslim identity, challenges to opportunities. One of the chief architects of the Republic, Thomas Jefferson, said this, the constitutional freedom of religion is the most inalienable and sacred of all human rights. Yet today we see in America a dangerous extremism that threatens to undermine the fundamental underpinnings of the Republic and plunge us into sectarian conflict and social and political stagnation. We see a kind of mean-spirited right-wing attempt to reverse decades of progress and reshape the nation in the image of the failed policies and practices of a bygone era. We see an attempt by those who are too narrow for the broadness of the dream to guarantee its provisions to every man and woman. The fact of the matter is, America is a dream that is larger than any political party, any ethnic orientation, any sectarian viewpoint, and any social and economic class. The American dream is even larger than the architects of the Republic. For it is a dream that is the legitimate hopes and aspirations of men and women from every nation, every kindred, and every tongue. Written on our money are the words e pluribus unum, out of the many the one. This is the story of our nation. Out of the toil and sweat and sacrifice and exploitation of many, we have become one nation under God, with the sacred obligation to pursue liberty and justice for all. For when we lock people up without due process, and we keep them incarcerated for indefinite periods of time, without proper legal due process, this scars the American dream. It is not only wrong, it is not only anti-American. To lock people up without due process of law is inhumane, is morally wrong, and sinful. It is against the contour and texture of the American dream. This is why the Muslim community, and those of us who are large enough to see the broadness of the dream, must stand up and actively oppose any xenophobia, any demagoguery. This is why we must say to Tea Party extremism and right-wing propaganda, there is no room, there is no place, there is no rightful designation for you in the American dream. It is much larger, it is much broader, it is much more meaningful than that. That is why we must continue to fight against anti-Sharia legislation. We must stand up and fight it because it is mean-spirited, it is racist, it is contrary to the founding principles of our republic. We must actively oppose it because it is anti-Muslim, it is anti-egalitarian, and it is anti-American. It is a threat to justice. And one great man said, justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That is why I go to Tallahassee to fight anti-Sharia legislation. This is why Muslims must unashamedly embrace their culture and their beliefs. Muslims have a right, they have a responsibility, they have an obligation. The rich and noble contributions of the Islamic faith are as old as the birth of civilization, and as new as those who have been recipients of the coveted Nobel Prize for Peace in literature, in politics, and in science. As of 2012, 10 winners of the Nobel Prize have been Muslims, and many of them in recent years for those who believe Muslims are for violence and destruction. Look at your history, look at the facts. They would not be winning Nobel Prizes for peace if all they were about was violence and sectarian prejudice. The Muslim community is an integral part of the global community. Its strength makes all of us stronger. Its contributions, ingenuity, passion, and compassion make America bigger and make America better. Its industry and commercial expertise have provided jobs and incomes to hundreds of thousands who would otherwise be unemployed. It has given us legal frameworks, technical skills, scientific formulas, mathematical discoveries, and philosophical insights that have made us more civil and more methodical. You know, I like something that Mahatma Gandhi said. He said it about India, but I'm going to paraphrase it for America. He said this: that in reality, there are as many religious viewpoints as there are individuals. But those who are conscious of the spirit of nationality do not interfere with another man's religion. If they do not and are not fit to be considered a nation. If the Christians believe that the United States should be peopled only by Christians, they are living in dreamland. The Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, and even the agnostics who have made America their country are fellow countrymen, and they will have to learn to live in unity, if only for their own interest. In no part of the world are one nationality and one religion synonymous terms, nor has it ever been so in America. You know, Connie Cullen, a brilliant African-American poet, said this in a poem entitled, "Thus Do I Marvel." And I say this to my Muslim brothers and sisters tonight who are facing prejudice, who are facing the meanness of right-wing extremists, and those who have a provincial view of America, who are not big enough to see that America is larger than any sectarian view, is larger than any political persuasion, is larger than the smallness of their minds. You are facing a lot of the wrath now that used to be reserved for just people of color. But I say this to you tonight in the spirit of Connie Cullen: I doubt not God is well-meaning kind. And should he stop to quibble, could tell why the little mole continues blind, why flesh that mirrors him must someday die. Make plain the reason tortured Tantalus, baited by the fickle fruit declare, why brute caprice dooms Sisyphus to struggle up the never-ending stair. Inscrutable his ways are and immune to catechisms by a mind too strewn with petty cares to slightly understand what awful brain compels his awful hand. Yet do I marvel at this one thing, to paint a poet black and bid him sing. What I'm saying to our Muslim brothers and sisters tonight: you may face wrath, you may face indignation, you may face bigotry, but you must say deep down in your souls, we are larger than the bigotry, we are larger than the wrath, we are larger than the indignation, and even if it is dark, the darkness is light enough. And if the opposition you faced in the past, if the adversaries you faced in the past have not been enough to engulf the largeness of the Muslim community, then surely the opposition you face today will fail. You will overcome, you will survive, and you will continue to thrive and contribute to the greatness of this nation. Continue to turn those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And challenges that face the Muslim community have always brought out the creative and the ingenious and the brilliant in this community. And so the Muslim community must say, as I am getting ready to close, we are children of God. We are Muslims. We are Americans, and we are not afraid. This is what democracy acts like. This is what democracy sounds like. This is what democracy looks like.
Our next speaker is actually, he does a number of things. I'm not sure, what to say exactly. He has such a long bio. He writes plays, right, called Domestic Crusaders, and it was a successful play. It was one of the first American plays published about the Muslim American family, and it was about crusading. He also writes articles, well published, writes for many papers. He's a scholar, but one thing that I really appreciate about his work is he did this report which was for some reason was top secret because nobody knew about this report, that this report was coming out. But it ended up being a one-year investigation called, and it was published, called Fear Inc. You can actually get it on Amazon.com or you can download it. But they investigated the source of Islamophobia in America. Who's behind, fueling all these different things, these campaigns against Muslims, especially with the Ground Zero masjid that wasn't really at Ground Zero, and who is this Pam Geller, this blogger that's now all over the country? Anytime that there's a Muslim issue, they're there like a gang, or the Murfreesboro Masjid. That these are not just simple, coincidences that are just popping up all over the place. These are organized campaigns targeting the Muslim community. And he tracked the funding because whenever you want to find out what the objective is you follow the money. Whoever is funding these projects, you can figure out what their agenda is, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that. He just returned from Turkey, and I appreciate it because I didn't go to Turkey, and I was like surprised, what's going on in Turkey? I thought Turkey things were pretty stable. And what seemed to be like a protest over a park is, they're making it sound like it's Tahrir Square, and it was difficult to get accurate information. So I appreciate the fact that he actually went there, and he's like, what's going on? So he'll tell you more about that. But please welcome to the stage one of our brightest young Muslim Americans that's doing a lot of important things in Washington, D.C. and around the country, Wajahat Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. It's fantastic. At 10 p.m. we will talk about the heartwarming, uplifting topic of Islamophobia. Excellent. Look at that. That person's so excited they fell asleep. I would like to thank ISNA for inviting me. Congratulations on surviving for 50 years. Give yourself a round of applause. You've survived Facebook and Twitter. MashaAllah. I would like to thank the Godfathers, Godfather Yunus and Godfather Saba, for existing and thriving. Please don't make me sleep with the fishes. I'm your fan. That's a Godfather reference for anyone who remembers. Thank you for being the only person who left. But thank you for your contributions. And inshallah, I'm glad they're giving you trophies in addition to du'as. So that's something. Thank you to Ahmed Badir for being Ahmed Badir and for entertaining us, whether he likes to or not. That's a compliment to Ahmed Badir. I would like to thank the Reverend Dr. Charles McKenzie for that stirring speech. I wanted to dance and jump after that. I'm like, I am America. But then I realized I would have been arrested and tased. It said something. But thank you so much for allies like yourself. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school where we read the Bible, and you represent the spirit, I think, the true spirit of the Jesus that I read in the Bible. So thank you for existing and doing what you do. I would like to thank Azhar Bhai for the most thankless role on earth, for trying to get your money out of your wallet, and for name-dropping halwa in a speech. How many Pakistanis are here? Okay, so we're outnumbered. So for the 7 of us, thank you. This is the first time in Tampa, and I knew I was in Tampa because I went from the airport. Ahmed drove me, one of his many roles in, headlining 18 organizations, emceeing, giving money. He also drives people from the airport. As I was driving from Tampa to here, I knew I was in Tampa because I saw a church, swamp, gun shop, Kmart, church, hookah lounge. Then I saw hookah lounge, mosque, gun shop, hookah lounge. So that is, my friend, democracy. Speaking about the American Muslim identity, for those of you who don't know, I am Muslim Pakistani American, or American Muslim of Pakistani descent, and nothing says mainstream acceptance like Pakistani Muslim. When you think Pakistani Muslim, it's just popularity. Everyone loves Pakistani Muslims. I heard there's lots of Palestinians here in Tampa, right? Here's a true story. He's heard this before. A year and a half ago, a Palestinian uncle comes up to me and says this, bro, things are really bad in Pakistan right now, bro. When a Palestinian takes pity on you, things are mashallah, all right? So this is like, because in the 90s, all the Pakistani uncles used to be like, oh, thank God we're at least not like those Palestinians. All right, let's just be real talk. And now the Palestinians are like, oh, miskeen Pakistanis. So things turn. Speaking about American Muslims, we are very popular right now. MashaAllah, everyone's talking about us, especially the Tea Party in Florida and 2012 Republican presidential candidates. Has anyone heard about the fact that we're creeping Sharia? Anyone know this? Who has heard about this? Raise your hand. We'll make it a community exercise. That person, I think, is dead in the corner. So do we have a doctor? Doctor, can you send like a pook dua over there? Wake him up. We are creeping Sharia into America, and what people say is that Muslims are trying to supplant the United States Constitution with Islamic law and replace the stars and stripes with the star and crescent. Anyone heard this before? Yes. Okay, so what I always say is the Sharia has already infiltrated and conquered America. What do you mean about we're trying to? We already have, mashallah. Proof. We have re-elected the Muslim president, Barack Hussein Obama. Takbir, crazy Libyan guy. Say that loud again. All right. Please don't add me on Facebook. 17% of registered voters, I'm not making this up, 17% of registered voters in the 2012 election thought that Barack Hussein Obama prays towards the Kaaba and is such anti-American. We have, so first term is Obamacare, and second term, anyone? Khalifat, inshallah. Takbir. All right. We've also made strong progress in the culture war. 3 years ago, we nabbed Miss USA. Does anyone know who? Rima Fakhi from where? Dearborn, Michigan, not Pakistan. I know Dr. Saba wants Pakistani love, but not Pakistan. Dearborn, Michigan, and we put a tiara. I'm not making this up. Miss USA was a Muslim Arab American from Dearborn, Michigan, otherwise known as, quote, the Hezbollah supporting Shiite Muslim whose bid for the pageant was financed by an Islamic terrorist and immigration fraud perpetrator, according to Islamophobic blogger Debbie Schlussler. Takbir, Libyan. No, okay. I like how the Libyan guy is very selective about his takbirs. He was takbiring everything like an hour ago, but now he's like, no, bro, no. Furthermore, we have won the grocery stores. Sharia has crept into every Safeway and Whole Foods market. Why? Because we can find hummus everywhere, being bought by suburban moms who also wear keffiyehs as a fashion statement. Once you win over American suburban moms, you have won over America. Takbir. We've also infiltrated, thank you, I'll give you the check afterwards. We've also infiltrated and dominated the most influential voice in America, the television. 3 years ago, alhamdulillah, it was the most boring show on earth, All American Muslim, premiered on TLC. You guys ever remember All American Muslim? Is the first ever reality TV show about an American Muslim family from Dearborn, Michigan. I know that family and those families are great people, but the show was extremely boring. The show got canceled and caused international controversy. Okay, international, not local, not national, international controversy. So if you've never seen the show, and it's a show about American Muslim family, you might be thinking, what was the show about? Was it, did it show like bomb making tips? Was it like jihadi training grounds? Was it like, downtown Abbottabad Abbey? Was it like the Real Housewives of Al-Qaeda? What was, thank you, I'll take it. I thank you so much. I'll take any laugh I can get at 10:30 in Tampa. It was just a boring show about 5 Arab American Muslim families. They went to the mosque, they went home. They went to the hookah lounge, they went home. They had a barbecue, they ate hummus. The show ended. You cried. I actually did dua that one of them would be a terrorist, just to make it interesting. All right. But it was a harmless show that got rave responses. And this show was so outrageous that if you guys remember the retail giant Lowe's, they said they had to cave into, quote, enormous pressure and withdraw ads from the show based on a broad spectrum of customers. Specifically, and this is where things get kind of scary, they submitted to an email campaign run by one dude. The dude was named David Cantor, who runs, and this is Florida, gotta love Florida, runs the Florida Family Association. You guys know him? It's an operation run by one dude. Oh, mashallah, I wish he was here. It would be nice. We could have fed him some food, some hummus. It was the world's worst website, the Florida Family Association. You guys remember the website? It was like a 14-year-old made it. And he had an email list. And just this one guy with Florida Family Association with his email list influenced Lowe's, this giant, to withdraw ads from this harmless show. And now, just to let you know about this guy, he has a history of boycotting similar threatening things. Let me give you the list. Degrassi, Family Guy, Modern Family, and the worst of the worst, wait for it, Disney World. Yes. Well, you're scaring me. Are you the Takbir guy? No, you're a Pakistani guy. Great. Speaking, we're very popular. Are you Palestinian? Oh, thank God. Not Pakistani. But he received his talking points earlier from the Islamophobia Network, some of the people Ahmed mentioned, Pam Geller, who said that the show was trying to manipulate America into ignoring the threat of jihad. I did not know a show had that much power. And also David Horowitz's Front Page magazine saying that the show was stealth propaganda to promote submission to Islam through the hijab. So, mashallah, your hijab has superpowers. I thought the only superpower that hijabs had was that you guys could tuck your cell phone underneath it while driving, which I think is a remarkable feat. Takbir to hijabis who came up with that. Do you guys get fined for that, by the way? I don't know. Anyway, but that's the nonsense that was there, and it caused international controversy. And here's something that came up about 2 months ago. I don't know if you guys read it. Tennessee, speaking out of Murfreesboro, a very interesting town. Sharia has also infiltrated Tennessee state capitol. I'm not making this up. We have added, quote, foot washing sinks to the Tennessee state capitol for our ablutions before prayer. And by the way, our prayers are, quote, acts of terrorism, according to North Carolina Representative Presnell. So this stealth edition of foot washing sinks was uncovered by Tennessee Senator Bill Ketron, who brought it to national attention. Upon investigation, they actually investigated this. The Legislative Administrative Director of Tennessee, Connie Ridley, writes in an email, I'm going to quote their email in full. I confirmed with the facility administrator for the state capitol complex that the floor-level sink installed in the men's restroom outside the House chamber is for housekeeping use. It is, in layman's terms, a mop sink, end quote. I say mop sink, you say foot washing sink. I say tomato, you say tomato. I say hummus, you say Hamas. But the creme de la creme, I think the greatest infiltration was of the international boy band sensation known as One Direction, the teenage girls know, featuring as one of their members, anyone know? Some say it? Zayn Malik, all the girls know, and the moms know too, who is Muslim as one of its boy band singers. This is proof of, quote, boy band jihad. Mega pop star pimping Islam on your daughters, end quote, according to Islamophobic blogger Debbie Schlessel. So I have given you all these ridiculous examples. We should laugh. However, each one of these benign examples that should elicit laughter has been used by members of the Islamophobia industry as proof that Sharia has infiltrated America. In fact, nearly every single Republican presidential candidate of 2012 ran on the anti-Sharia campaign to gain both votes and money. I'll name some names. Rick Santorum with the sweaters, Tim Pawlenty, Newt Gingrich, Herman Cain of Godfather Pizza, and Michelle Bachmann, the lady who does not blink. Every single one of them ran on it. The manufactured fictitious Sharia threat is about as threatening as the unicorn threat, or the Bigfoot threat, or the Rishta auntie threat. Actually, I make it up. The Rishta auntie threat is very real, and they're terrifying. But the Sharia threat has been now introduced into nearly 31 states, okay? 78 bills have been introduced. Florida, and thanks to the works of people here in this room, they've introduced that bill 3 times in a row, and it's been defeated 3 times in a row. Thanks to the Reverend, thanks to Ahmed Badir, and thanks to everyone else here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Takbir. All right. Are you guys videotaping this? I'm never going to get a job ever again. Thank you. But it has passed in 6 states, and it keeps coming up, and it's going to come up again and again and again. So I used it. Are you guys still with me? All right. The person's dead in the corner. They can't talk. But you guys are still with me. I use this example to talk about how organized and effective the Islamophobia industry is. And the good news, if any, is that they're very small. The good news about American Muslims, all right, here's the reality according to all the latest data. Okay, I'm going to read it for you. According to the latest polls, American Muslims as a group are moderate, I don't know what that means, but it's good, uniquely optimistic about America's future, they believe in the American dream, they're economically successful, they renounce extremism and violence against civilians, they help law enforcement, and they're currently the most diverse religious community in America. American Muslim women are the most educated women of any religious community in America, just behind Jewish American women. That deserves a takbir. That's good, right? But wait for it, we're talking about Muslims, there has to be some bad news. Here comes the perception. Reality is good, here's the perception. Islam currently has the lowest favorability rating of any religion in America. Lower now than in October 2001. Think about that for a second. According to a Time poll from 2 years ago, 1/3 of Americans don't want a Muslim in the Supreme Court or a Muslim as president. Too late. I'm just kidding. He's not a Muslim. I'm just kidding. He's not a Muslim. And even if he is a Muslim, he eats pork openly, which means he's like, you know, not even the strongest Muslim. So it's okay. I'm just kidding. He's not Muslim, all right? But seriously, 17% of the registered voters think he's a Muslim, and as such, he's anti-American. The FBI, 2 years in a row, back-to-back, 2010, 2011, and even I think in 2012, they're saying there's a 50% increase in anti-Muslim hate crimes. There is a 300% increase in anti-Muslim hate groups, and there's currently about 50 nationwide protests against constitutionally protected houses of worship, which are called masjids, also called mosques. So there's a divide. Now the question you should be asking is, what causes the divide? Twofold. Number one, most people might say Americans hate Islam. There's something in their heart that hates Islam. It's not true. According to all the research, the key factor in causing the divide between the reality and perception is ignorance. Ignorance. People just don't know. That's it. This is very important because most Muslims say, oh, they hate us, they hate us. No, they just don't know. A Time magazine poll said that over 60% of Americans say they don't know a Muslim. We have been here since the founding of this country. Over 1/3 of the slave trade that was brought here against its will from Africa was Muslim, all right? Yet 60%. So we have to ask ourselves, where are we going wrong? How come no one's telling our story? How come we're not telling our story? Secondly, what they do know about Muslims, they get from where? Anyone? Not Fox News. Yes, Fox News, but the media. So, two underlying reasons: ignorance, and what they do know they get from the media, and overwhelmingly it's sensationalistic news. So, we did a report real quick. How much time do I have? 10 minutes? Do I have 10 minutes? Yes? No? Yes? Yeah, thank you. In 10 minutes, I'm going to condense the entire report so you don't have to read it. The report is called Fear Incorporated, Fear Inc. It's available on the Google. You can download the entire report, right? Fear Inc. is a 6-month investigative report that I did with the think tank Center for American Progress. Our team, what we decided to do is trace the money and expose how 7 funders have given $43 million over the last 10 years to a small, interconnected group of individuals and organizations, many of them, unfortunately, are from Florida, who are responsible for mainstreaming much of the fear, bigotry, hate, and memes, such as Sharia is taking over America, that has been used against Muslims and Islam in America. Now, real quick, I want to give you a definition of Islamophobia that we've experienced in the last 10 years. Islamophobia that we witnessed in the past 10 years is an exaggerated fear, hatred, and hostility towards Islam and Muslims that is perpetuated by negative stereotypes that results in bias, discrimination, and this is the key, and I think this is the most important part, the last part, marginalization and exclusion of Muslims from America's social, political, and civic life. The entire Islamophobia industry can be broken down into 5 categories, and I will show you, hopefully in 5 minutes, how this nonsense meme of Sharia as a threat to America developed and how it landed into the mouths of politicians, leading presidential candidates. Okay, first, everything begins with what? The money. The money trail, the first category. 7 funders gave $43 million. Your question should be, where did this money go? Good question. Second category, the Islamophobia quote-unquote scholars and experts. I use the term scholar very lightly, all right? In particular, I want to give you the name of one scholar and one think tank. Frank Gaffney from the Center for Security Policy. Anyone heard of Frank Gaffney? Here's a great quotation from Frank Gaffney. I don't hold myself out as an expert on Sharia law, but I have talked a lot about it as a threat. I didn't make that. I didn't make that up. That's amazing. Here's another quote. A mosque, a masjid, that is used to promote a seditious program, which is what Sharia is, that is not a protected religious practice. That is, in fact, sedition. So anyone who went to the mosque on Friday? Or maybe not, don't raise your hand. According to Frank Gaffney, you committed sedition against the United States of America. Okay. In 2010, his think tank, Center for Security Policy, published a report called Sharia, a Threat to America, which misidentified Sharia as the preeminent totalitarian threat to America and misdefined it as a legal, military, political doctrine to supplant the Constitution and overtake the United States. Islamic scholar, is that the definition of Sharia? Thank God you said no. Also, he misdefined taqiyya as religiously mandated lying, an utterly incorrect definition. In fact, who here knows what taqiyya is? Taqiyya. Not okay, so taqwa? Taco Bell? Taquito? What? Most Muslims have no idea what taqiyya is. If you ask most Muslims like I do, and I've been to many states, they think taqiyya is like a new taquito released by Taco Bell with extra guacamole. Like they have no clue. But what they said in this report, and what's very insidious, it says that taqiyya is religiously mandated lying. Islam commands Muslims to lie about their real agenda. And what is the real agenda? To infiltrate America, supplant the Constitution with what? Sharia. Exactly. It's very dangerous. And what they also say is, see that peaceful Muslim, that moderate Muslim? He or she may look peaceful and moderate, but you know what their real agenda is? Taqiyya. Sharia. Okay. He works with David Yerushalmi, whom the ADL, you know, Muslim groups have had problems with the ADL, but the ADL has said of Attorney David Yerushalmi, I have like 2 more minutes? Oh my God. I can't even say my name in 2 minutes. All right. David Yerushalmi is the author of the anti-Sharia bill, who the ADL has said has a history of anti-black, anti-Muslim, and anti-immigrant sentiments. And yet he's still invited repeatedly as an expert on Sharia law to testify about Sharia on NPR, mainstream media, and in front of elected officials. So, since I have no time left, because I took up too much time, money goes to the think tanks. The think tanks create these memes. The question should be, so what? Who cares? Where does it go? It goes to the grassroots organizations such as Act for America. You guys have heard of Act for America? It has about 573 chapters and 160,000 members worldwide who literally hand deliver the anti-Sharia bill to local elected officials. That's how it got into Tennessee. That's how it got into South Carolina. They work in tandem with many people from the religious right. Sorry for the religious groups, but I wish more people were like our good Reverend here. They work with the religious right and spread it around the grassroots communities. It then goes to the fourth group, the media megaphone. There is one news channel in particular. On the count of 3, let's take a guess. 1, 2, 3. Fox. Not CNN, smart aleck. Fox. And also hate radio, such as Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, and also the internet, the media megaphone, which is why the Ground Zero Mosque controversy, which is a non-controversy, which is not a mosque, which is neither a mosque, not a Ground Zero, became a non-issue, local issue, national issue, international controversy in 2010, thanks to the internet. And then finally, it ends up in the talking points in the mouths of politicians. And specifically the politicians that I talked about, they consult with Frank Gaffney. And if you look at that 2010 document, the exact definition and words they have about Sharia ended up in their mouths. All right? So, give me 2 more minutes, I'll be done, I promise. So you guys might be saying, thank you, Wajahat, coming all the way from California and Virginia for depressing us. We're now going to go to the parking lot and cry and punch ourselves in the face and weep. I hate you, Wajahat. Damn you, Pakistanis. All right. There is hope. There is hope. We've written this report for a mainstream wide audience. It's meant to empower communities with knowledge, facts, and information with the hopes of marginalizing the Pam Gellers and the Act for America, and to save America from divisive, fear-mongering rhetoric so we can, inshallah, move back towards moderation. And I think right now we've seen the high tide of Islamophobia and we're seeing it receding. And I want to end on this point. I'm tired of having our stories told to us by others. I'm tired of Muslims, like so many other minority groups, thinking that we're victims, like we have no power, like the world is against us and we have no resources. We become defeated, deflated, cynical, and reactionary, and instead of doing anything positive, usually Pakistani uncles drink chai and yell at Bill O'Reilly, right? So let's call on Muslims and our allies, such as powerful allies like Reverend Charles, who helped us in Florida. Call on our allies, because Islamophobia is not just a Muslim issue. Let me tell you this again, it's an American problem. Islamophobia is not a Muslim problem, it's an American problem. To step up, we have the skills, we have the talents, and we'll take all our talents to change the discourse. I'm tired as a Muslim American of being a sidekick. I'm tired of being Haji Baba, Tonto, Kato, and Sulu. They were awesome, but they're always sidekicks. It's time for us to be the protagonists of our own narratives. It's time for us to tell stories that are by us for everyone. It's time for us to stop being afraid and stop being misers, because our religion is not a miserly religion. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a miserly prophet, and our country, America, is not a miserly nation. Our test as both Americans and Muslims is to not only help ourselves and our own communities during this tough time, but this is a true test in my opinion, to ensure that this scapegoating and fear-mongering does not happen to any community after us. To make sure that this scapegoating does not happen to any American neighbor, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, their religion, orientation, or creed. So have hope. America eventually refines its moral compass. There is always a reset button. I believe the Islamophobia tide is receding. There's this dude named Alan West. He was elected, he lost. That's good news. Michelle Bachmann ain't running for Senate again, Congress again, right? Joe Walsh from Chicago, he lost. Pam Geller and Robert Spencer just got banned from the UK for inciting hate. I don't know if I agree with the ban, but the fact that UK took a stand, that's powerful. So, people are realizing enough is enough, and that this is all a remake. The characters this time happen to be Muslims, but in the past, there were African Americans, there were Jews, there were Catholics, Japanese Americans. In the 2004 elections, there were gays and lesbians. The ending is always same for the haters. The fear-mongers always become the villains of our children's history books. Remember that. And I want us to write a new story. I'm ending, I promise. Thank you for being so patient with me. I want us to stop being the Haji Babas. I want the Haji Babas to stop being the sidekicks. I want the Haji Baba to be the hero. I want us to be more like Bugs Bunny and less like Daffy Duck. What do you mean? You kids know what Daffy Duck? You guys know who it is? All right, thank God. Thank God. They almost gave me a heart attack that they wouldn't know. Daffy Duck always loses his temper. He loses his cool. He overreacts. He gets a migraine. He ends up hopping, jumping up and down, shouting in the air. And an anvil always drops on his head, and a shotgun always gets blasted in his face, right? I always feel like we were the Daffy Ducks. Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny is always cool, calm, and collected. He always outwits Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd. They're always chasing him, but Bugs Bunny is always 2 steps ahead. And at the end of the episode, he always gets the carrot at the end of the stick. He always gets the pretty bunny girl, and he always gets the laugh at the hater's expense. So inshallah, let's be the protagonists of our own narrative, and let's get the witty quip and the laugh at the Islamophobes' expense. Thank you so much for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Next performance is a Muslim American country sensation. I didn't think he was serious until I heard him talk, because even when he talks like he's country. It's like a Garth Brooks in a Muslim something. It just represents what America is all about. I don't know. It's the only Egyptian person I know that can pull off a cowboy hat and look this good with it. So please give a big round of applause to Kareem Salama.
Assalamu alaikum. We're using a different system here. Can y'all hear me all right? What was that laugh for? I didn't say anything funny. Now, my name is Kareem Salama. I'm originally from Oklahoma, but I've been living in Texas for quite some time, which is where I met my good buddy JJ. I want to thank y'all, for being patient. I know it's awfully late. We're going to try to keep it short because I know the staff also wants to go home. I want to thank ISNA, Sister Arisha, Brother Ahmed, and all of y'all again for staying late. The first song I want to share with y'all is a song that I wrote a few years ago. We were headed over to the Middle East, and it's a conversation that happens between two gentlemen. One is speaking in Arabic and the other one's speaking in English, and they're essentially saying the same thing back to one another. And after a while in the conversation, they realize that they realize they're saying the same thing to one another, and they see one another in each other. And so they have an awakening, if you will. This is a song called I Am You.
I hear voices all around telling me who you are when we're worlds apart. أسمع أصوات من كل مكان تقول لي في عالم بيننا. You never know me, don't wanna know you. You started the fight, but I see through. لن تعرفني ومش هعرفكم. بدأت العنف وهوقفكم. Do you know just who I am? What I do for this land? كنت تعلم ما أنا حارس على أرضنا. Gotta see that I got my keys on a bottle door عندي أولاد. Gotta see that I love my wife وزوجتي بحبها. Don't you know I can follow this same path that we're on today. أتدري ممكن نمشي في نفس الطريق اللي احنا فيه. Where will it lead, this anger in me, to the loss of life in my humanity? أين يؤدي الوضع في قلبي؟ هنضيع حياتنا إنسانية. Do you know just who I am? What I do for this land? ما كنت تعلم ما أنا حارس على أرضنا. Gotta see that I got my keys on a برضو عندي أولاد. Gotta see that I love my wife وزوجتي بحبها. Do you know just who I am? I got smoke in my eyes and I love this land. Do you know just who I am? I got smoke in my eyes and I love this land. Do you know just who I am? I got smoke in my eyes and I love this land. Do you know just who I am? I got smoke in my eyes and I love this land. Do you know just who I am? I got smoke in my eyes and I love this land. Maybe things won't ever be perfect, but I won't blame you for the crimes of another man. الحياة ما في كمال ولا ألومك على جريمتي إنسان. I see you're more than a tribe or a name. You're a soul like me from the same perfect place. أنا شايفك أكثر من اسم قبيلة. أنت روح مثلي من نفس المكان. Do you know just who I am? I'm you, I'm you, I'm you. I said I'm you, I'm you, I'm you. كنت تعلم من أنا أنت 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 أنا أنت أنت أنت. Do you know just who I am? What I do for this land. ما كنت تعلم من أنا حريص على أرضنا. Gotta see that I got my kids on a bottle door in the outlet. Gotta see that I love my wife وزوجتي بحبها. Do you know just who I am? What I do for this land. ما كنت تعلم من أنا حريص على أرضنا. Gotta see that I got my kids on a bottle door in the. Gotta see that I love my wife وزوجتي بحبها. وزوجتي بحبها.
Thank you. Is it a little loud for y'all? Is it? Okay. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. You want to laugh? You was one laughing earlier. You making fun when I talk? Okay. Man, y'all from Florida. You know if people around here talk like that. So this next song I wrote actually just a little bit after, this is gonna sound strange, but a little bit after Michael Jackson died. And I wrote it thinking about, you know, this is a guy who was super famous, he had everything that he could have, and he did a lot for a lot of people. But I thought about him as he passed on, or anybody really who passes on, and looking back at their life from the next life. So I sort of took some famous lines from his songs and kind of reworked them in a way that I thought might reflect what he might say to us looking back. This is called Michael Says.
One day we all gotta go, but the question inside is what we leave behind. And MJ would have a lot to say, but this is what I believe he'd say to me. Look at the man in the mirror full of pride, and beat it till it's full of light. And I say why should I waste my time? He says it's human nature to reach for the sky. Says it's human nature to reach for the sky. And Michael says, take one more step. Don't give up on dreams. And Michael says, hear the children say, don't give up on me.
bullhorns, American flags, and cardboard signs denouncing Islam. About 24 protesters showed up across the street from the Islamic Center in Temecula.
Supporters outnumbered protesters by a wide margin.
Arlington police have stepped up patrols around city mosques after vandalism and anti-Islam graffiti appeared on the South Arlington Mosque.
This is an insult, this is demeaning, this is humiliating that you would build a shrine to the very ideology that inspired the attacks of 9/11.
When people are talking about Islam being a religion of peace, this is baloney. It just isn't.
Islam is not a religion of peace, but the Quran promotes violence.
America was not built on hatred. America was built on love.
The First Amendment to the Constitution is the best friend that religion has in this nation.
The principles that protect Muslims today here in this country will protect Christians, Jews, and others tomorrow.
Those of us who care about this country, we have learned that we have to stand up for our Muslim brothers and sisters and say, this is not okay.
Muslims know that the Quran will not disappear with the burning of a book. It wouldn't disappear with the burning of all of the Qurans in the world because millions of Muslims across the world have memorized the Quran.
You had to speak more directly to the anti-Muslim bigotry that is going on across America today.
As religious leaders in this great country, we have come together in our nation's capital to denounce categorically the derision, misinformation, and outright bigotry being directed against America's Muslim community.
Some of the most offensive statements about Islam, unfortunately, have come forth from the Baptist community. And therefore, some of us as Baptist leaders felt that it was important for us to join with ISNA and with our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Part of the problem is that we have not shared these things widely enough. We've taken them for granted and we've assumed that if we do it locally, that's enough. No, now we're realizing that we need to be able to share these with one another, that the word about interfaith relations, tolerance, dialogue will be lifted up as the dominant voice and not simply hidden in ways that we may have done too much of in the past.
We have to make sure that our country is known around the world as a place where liberty of religion, where respect for your neighbor, where love for your neighbor, where these things are the most prominent in our society.
We stand by the principle that to attack any religion in the United States is to do violence to the religious freedom of all Americans.
We have signed the Common Word document and engaged in that as a principle of religious freedom, respect, and reciprocity between Christians and Muslims. It's why we've engaged with our Jewish colleagues in education of our congregations about each other's faith so that there is not distortion of what Jews are and what they believe and what Judaism is on the part of Muslims.
As an evangelical, I say to those who do this, I say, you bring dishonor to the name of Jesus Christ. You directly disobey his commandment to love our neighbor.
And so it's not just a religious issue, it's not just a media issue, it has become a political issue. It should not have become that kind of issue, and I think we need to speak out against that.
The successful integration of Muslims in America has become a model for the rest of the world, for Europe in particular. European governments are sending their people, their delegations and leaders here to study how these things have been achieved.
We are preaching the gospel. It's not exclusive. It's inclusive. It's not about hate. It's about love.
One of the next steps that has been discussed is the possibility of another meeting like this one, but much larger, with people of various faiths across the country coming together to talk about what are the real strategies we need to do together to end this anti-Muslim bigotry.
Our message is a message of working together, working for each other, taking care of the person who needs help, and making sure that we try to live everybody together in a good and holy life. That's what America is, and that's the message that I pray that we will get out to all the people of the world so that they will know who we are and who we're trying to be. So it's a great joy for me and a great privilege to be here. Thank you.